Hi, boys and girls. This is Mr. Rivera. Today for art class, we are going to talk about humor in art and look at some work by an artist named David Gilhooly. So a lot of people usually have the thought that art is meant to be serious. So when we look at examples like this, it's kind of boring. These are what's called still life. It's when the artist sets up some objects and paints them. So not much humor here. So let's look at another piece of art. Okay, so this is another still life. This was something that was done by the artist we're learning about today. And as you can see, it is pretty ridiculous. Sandwich is very tall, has a lot of toppings. I guess you can say that it's a pretty silly sandwich. A little bit about the artist. He was an American artist born in California in 1943. He died in 2013. One interesting thing I learned about him was that he actually spent his teens in Puerto Rico. He ended up graduating high school in Puerto Rico back in the 60s. And he is most known for his ceramic work. So, ceramic is when you're working with clay and then you bake it and it turns into something hard. Here's another example of his work. So he really liked the idea of making his work funny. It got people's attention, and it also allowed him to talk about certain topics just by using humor. He also created another ceramical one. So if you look very carefully at these sculptures, you'll notice that each one is an object of food, but there's a frog inside of it. So he took something as such as food, which you wouldn't think is very humorous, and made it funny. He was actually inspired to get this from a comic character named Dagwood. He used to show up in the newspapers and also available as a comic book. In this comic book, the character was known for making these ridiculous sandwiches with many pieces of bread, many toppings, and it became such a famous thing that we started to see it in other comics. So whenever you see a reference to a very tall sandwich, that would be a reference to this character, Dagwood, and it's called a Dagwood sandwich. So in real life, people do make real Dagwood sandwiches. I'm not really sure how they would eat them, but hopefully it's something that you would share with other people. Right, so today you are going to create your own silly sandwich. What I would suggest is that you think about what you can put on your silly sandwich. It can be things that you'd really put in a sandwich, or you can also things that you would not put in a sandwich in real life. So you can actually write down a list of ideas first and then draw it. With you guys very quickly here, my example of a silly sandwich. Here are some student-made examples. So as you see, they drew the bread at the top and at the bottom, and they added their objects. They colored it in. They made sure to use many objects and used up their space. So we don't want our drawings to be very, very small because it'll be very hard to draw all the things. Let's go ahead and watch a video of me doing my example. When you're done watching the video, you can go ahead and get started, and just remember to take a picture of your work before Friday at 3 p.m.
All right, boys and girls, so I am now going to show you guys how to create your own silly sandwich. So first thing I want to do is I want to draw my bread. So I'm going to draw it at the bottom of my paper. And you can make it as a rectangle, or you can have it rounded like I did at the bottom. Now I am going to add a top of the bun. Top of the bun kind of looks like a letter D on its side. And now my goal is to fill up what space here with silly objects. It could be real objects. It's pretty much up to you, but our goal is to have humor in our drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to have some real items first. All right, so I finished drawing all my objects. So I started out with some real things, things I would eat, not in a sandwich, and then I went a little crazy and had some fun with the objects on top. Next thing you'd want to do is color it in. You can use crayons, markers, or color pencils, whatever you have available, but it should be colored in. And now I have my finished drawing. So as you can see, I made sure I added lots of items. So you want to make sure that you don't draw too small. Otherwise, you'll have to add more items. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different items. You can do more. I would suggest doing as many as you can. Please don't just do 5 because you're going to have a lot of empty space. You want to make sure that you are, when you are completed, you take a picture, upload it to Google Classroom before Friday at 3 o'clock. All right, so I will talk to you guys next week when we do our next art activity. Have a nice day.